My name is Jackson Kerr, and this is Prophetic Keys, and welcome. The Lord's word for today is this: the facade is collapsing. They've tried to build it up with matchsticks, and the whole thing is coming down now. Politicians and leaders in Washington and across the U.S. have been abusing their offices and using their positions to further their own agendas rather than seeking what is really best for the American people. Now, in building a structure, the choice of materials is critical. Choosing the right materials will put the builder in a place where, if their structure is built to code, they won't have to worry about whether the structure will stand. The corrupt in Washington and across the nation have forsaken truth, building their stories and accounts on sand, falsehoods, which will be swept away as more of the truth is revealed. This complex, conflicting storyline that the media and politicians have been trying to sell us is going to be revealed as falsehood. They have chosen to pursue policies to fix the world and rule over people, rather than turning to the Creator of the world to give them guidance in how to govern and protect the people. Romans 1:18-23 says, "The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of the people who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like a mortal being, and birds and animals and reptiles." So let's look at the first part of this passage. In this, Paul is clearly speaking about people who have put themselves into contention with the Lord. The scripture says that though they knew God, they rejected him and embraced foolishness. They chose the wrong. I've heard foolishness once described as an inability or unwillingness to learn from one's mistakes. But this passage goes farther than saying they simply made mistakes. It says they exchanged God's glory for idols in the forms of people and animals. We may not have golden calves in our society today, but our society has certainly propped up some things over others. Media is one example. We have been raised in a society where, if there is nothing to do, we can flip on the TV, turn on our computers, or pull out smartphones and start browsing and watching at any time. I'm not arguing here against the consumption of media. I'm arguing for aware consumption of media. Being aware of how long we're watching for, being aware of what kind of messages we are finding and receiving online, and being aware of what these messages are and where they're coming from is important in an age where everyone has a message to spread. I've recently begun reading Jonathan Cahn's The Harbinger, which is a book that I believe every American should be reading now. Jonathan Cahn is a prophet and author who receives revelations from the Lord and writes them out like a parable in a story form. In this case, this book details the spiritual implications behind America's response to the 9/11 attacks, which was to ignore the warning that the attacks served as. The warning that the security of our nation has been breached. Now we are seeing the cumulative effects of what years of corruption and backdoor deals has brought about. An unstable government which has made a policy of lying to cover its tracks, and a court system which has turned a blind eye to justice, in a market which is making it ever harder for small businesses to run. We need to pray for God's turnover in our government and for wickedness to be exposed in high places. We have access to incredible amounts of information through our devices, laptops, phones, and smart TVs, yet we're trained to come home and watch programming on these devices. Programming is an apt word. Studios churn out material by the bucket load and seem to value putting out their propaganda into the market over producing quality content. Now, you might say, propaganda, why would you choose that word? I would say propaganda is an appropriate word. Propaganda in the form of films, music, television, blogs, and novels. What if I told you there's a website compiling songs which smeared Ronald Reagan? You'd probably laugh and say, well, I mean, it might exist out there. How about a website listing the top songs smearing Donald Trump? Well, that's not so far-fetched when we look at our current political landscape. NME lists the top 30 Trump protest anthems. This is nothing more than propaganda. But hey, what's more inspiring to artists than constant coverage of false accusations and cover-ups, right? What president has had a public listing of protest anthems during their presidency? And why would this be encouraged? How about television? Shows and news studios alike are in this boat. They call themselves news shows, but time and again we found them to be irrelevant, stirring up trouble rather than telling us what's really going on in the nation. The American people are being driven to alternate news sources or to do their own reporting so that unbiased news can spread. Now, my mode of operations is that if a disagreement arises with someone, I would approach the person and try to talk through the issues with them. I think this is generally a good policy because this helps to working through problems is better than not addressing what the issue is. But unfortunately, in some realms, such as in politics and the media, they really can't do this because that means exposing the wickedness that they're committing. So they can't talk through the issues. What are they going to do? Apparently, anything under the sun to smear, attack, belittle, or redirect our president and his team from discovering and unveiling the truth behind the abuse of power and overstepping their boundaries. This, of course, prompts a question: what are they trying to do? And I returned with another question: what are the masks for? The simple answer is spreading propaganda. It's true that the masks for this COVID disease are used for protection against some sicknesses. But masks are a blatant way of spreading ideas, of marking people, sociologically. If you need evidence of this, look back through history across cultures to see masks being used to demoralize or socially silence people. A mask tells others, you shouldn't speak to this person. Marking this person with a mask is part of a different group. Whether the perceived reasons are founded on solid evidence or not doesn't deter those who use this heavy-handed method. If you consistently see signs of people being sick, protecting themselves from being sick, or that they might have been sick at some point, this draws attention to the problem rather than to the solutions. News about the declining numbers have been buried in a frantic attempt to keep the people panicked and under the thumb of the government. The news media is more interested in propping themselves up than letting you know that the numbers for the virus have been declining. Do some digging and see what you can find. There are lots of news sources out there. 2 Timothy 2:15 says, "Study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that does not need to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." John 8:32 says, "And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." I pray that the Lord will reveal deep truths to you, and that His Spirit will make known the deep things that have been hidden away. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to click the like button. Don't forget to share this videos with others who are searching for truth as well. I'm Jackson Kerr, and this is Prophetic Keys. Thank you.